Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going through the UFC Bantamweight division. Everybody that I believe is in that title picture is people that can reasonably get a title shot within the next 2 to 3 fights. Putting them against the current champion, Sugasan O'Malley. And I'm going to put them into a tier list of sorts. From free defense to the point that I think O'Malley would actually find the KO blow and get a fairly easy win against them, all the way up to Nightmare Matchup, somebody that I believe should be a favorite if they were to fight O'Malley. And we're also going to be including Ilia Topuria, purely because that is a fight that is being talked about. Anybody that I think can be fighting O'Malley is going to be in this tier list. And with that out of the way, I'm going to assume you guys know the criteria. Let's get started. First up, we're going to start with Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, where do we start with Deiveson here? Deiveson Figueiredo has wins over Brandon Moreno, Joseph Benavidez, Alexandre Pantoja, and many more. But here's the problem. Just about every win he has is against people not in this weight class. Most of his wins are coming from flyweight. His only win at bantamweight is Rob Font. Now, I will say this. I think Deiveson Figueiredo looks shockingly good in that fight. And Figueiredo's longevity is probably one of the best in the sport here. I would put Deiveson Figueiredo, RDA, brother, even Yoel Romero have just crazy levels of longevity. Figueiredo should not be this good at his age. Now, with that being said, one of the biggest things that did impress me in his fight against Rob Font is his ability to, even though he has a shorter reach, his ability to use jabs and straights to sting Rob Font, who we thought is one of the best boxers in that division. And Rob Font's not a slouch. I'll get to that when we get to him in the video, because he's also on this video. But Deiveson Figueiredo also showed that he has the strength for this division to control bantamweights, which is something that I didn't expect at all. I thought if he was going to win, he was going to point fight his way into a victory. But he was getting Rob Font against the cage, controlling him in the grappling. And when they were separated, he was stinging them with the straight punches, as I was saying. Now, how does this stack up to somebody like O'Malley? What are the strengths of O'Malley? O'Malley's lateral movement. I think he's one of the best at cutting angles in the UFC. Even if you're not a fan of O'Malley, and I'm going to be real with you, O'Malley's kind of a weird dude. However, he's probably top 5. No, he's 100% top 5. It's between top 5 and top 3 best strikers in the UFC. The fact is he has an ability to pivot, a lateral movement to keep opponents following him, forcing them to a situation where they have to go in a blitz to tag him. And then he's just going to sting you with a counter. He did this against Aljamain Sterling, who was a seasoned champion at that point. He did this against Chito Vera, and he did this against a bunch of other I don't want to say high level. He fought some cans in the beginning. He did this against Petr Yan. Though that's his most impressive things that he's done. Beat Petr Yan, knocked out Aljamain Sterling, and make Chito Vera look like a can. I would say weaknesses of his, outside of the leg kick, the perennial nerve kick, that did him in. I want to see somebody test his wrestling. I think Deiveson Figueiredo has the jiu-jitsu to make it an interesting scrap with O'Malley, but I don't think he has the offensive wrestling to get him there. And for that reason, because Figueiredo is going to have to go into a blitz to get into range against O'Malley, because he's a rangy guy at bantamweight, I think he gets clipped on the way in, similar to an Aljamain Sterling. If that's not the case, Sean O'Malley is going to keep him at distance with jabs, tag him with leg kicks, and eventually, you're going to make Figueiredo go into a blitz, try to tangle up with you. I can see a knee similar to what he hit Chito Vera with, and then him finishing Deiveson Figueiredo. Deiveson Figueiredo is getting up there in age. I'm going to actually have to put him at the top of easy. It's not that Figueiredo's bad, but we are at the point of that career where Sean O'Malley has very favorable matchups at the bantamweight division, and it kind of sucks that he wants to go up and fight Ilia Topuria. Think of it like this. O'Malley has a real chance right now in his career to beat the bantamweight title defense record if he really wanted to. He beat Chito Vera. He needs 2 more to tie it. I'll get to who his toughest matchup's going to be, and he's going to have to fight one of those 2 guys, but he can reasonably get 4 title defenses at this division and making himself the bantamweight GOAT, which is crazy. But there you go. Deiveson Figueiredo's going to have to go at the top of easy. Next up, Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar Nurmagomedov just had a fight with Almamakan, and I'll be real with you. I was impressed by his ability to use control to win a fight. Outside of that, that wasn't amazing. 11 minutes of control time, 0 submission attempts. And don't get me wrong, I think Umar could hold down O'Malley. The problem is, I think Umar's going to have a lot of trouble. It's just tracking O'Malley. Getting into range into O'Malley so you can get that body lock, that double leg, that single leg. I think if he's able to grab a hold of him, he might be able to get him down. But Umar Nurmagomedov, for whatever reason, is not utilizing submissions. He's not utilizing head and arm chokes. He's not utilizing Kimuras, arm bars. He's not utilizing any of that. He is instead just using the standard Dagestani handcuff, try to get a TKO. Even though your opponent exposed their backs, I'm not going to go for a rear naked choke. I'm just going to pound you out until the end of the round, and then I'm going to win that way. If we're going to be fighting that type of matchup, Umar, you need to utilize striking just so you can get past that distance. Get through the initial blitzkrieg, then tie up. It's O'Malley that I think is going to have a lot of chances to clip Umar. Almamakan did it. And I think O'Malley, can we just agree, O'Malley's a better striker than somebody making their debut. I'll put Umar, because of his ability, I think Umar would do a better job of taking down O'Malley, if he's in range, and holding him down, and might be able to get a TKO, might be able to get a decision win if he has 5-round experience. But that's a lot of mights. I'm going to put him at the bottom of medium. Rob Font. Though this one's going to be mean. Rob Font did really good against Adrian Yanez. That was a fight that sewed off that Rob Font, even though he's taken a lot of dabbings from people like Chito Vera, people like Deiveson Figueiredo, people like Corey Sandhagen. Okay, the Corey Sandhagen fight. Okay. But he's taken damage throughout his career from people that have gone up and challenged for that championship level. And I know a lot of people are shitting on Chito Vera now that he lost to O'Malley. Chito did really good against Rob Font and damaged him more than most people do. But Rob Font showed that he still has the striking ability, still has the boxing IQ to hang with the upper echelon of bantamweights against somebody like Adrian Yanez. I know he's going to be fighting Mario Batista, and if Mario Batista can beat Rob Font, then he would have been on this list, but right now Rob Font is just barely makes it. However, just because he just barely makes the list, and I believe if he's going to beat O'Malley, he is going to have to beat him in O'Malley's game, I have to put you at free defense. I'm sorry. You're getting up there in age. You're good at boxing. O'Malley's also really good at boxing in the pocket. He's good at countering. I think he's going to be able to do what Chito did, but I think he's going to be able to find a finish. Henry Cejudo. Now, Henry Cejudo. I think the problem with Henry Cejudo is not even like so much a stylistic issue. I think we're at the end of the line, and I think he understands that. Honestly, Cejudo barely makes this list, not for the same way of Rob Font. It's not a skill thing, but because I don't even think Cejudo believes he's in that title picture for this division anymore. He's calling out Brennan Moreno to be fighting at the Sphere, and what I think that is he realizes that he's he's 2 to 3 fights from a title fight in this division, where he can fight Brennan Moreno and then challenge Pantoja. That's what that division's looking like. So I think Cejudo's mind isn't in this division. He already showed that he can't. He had a rough time with Merab. I will say this. Cejudo rocked Merab similar to how Marlon Moraes rocked Merab. And that's going to come into play when we go over Merab Dvalishvili and how I think he would do against O'Malley. Cejudo definitely has probably the best or second best fight IQ out of the bunch. But other than that, I think he would have a very similar problem of fighting O'Malley that somebody like Aljamain Sterling did. And Aljamain Sterling was out wrestling Cejudo. I am actually going to put Cejudo at this point in time. Now, I need to preface this. I'm not saying Cejudo is below Umar Nurmagomedov pound for pound skill wise. I think this would be a very tough fight for Umar Nurmagomedov. Styles make fights here, And Cejudo was never known to be a great striker in the pocket. So I'm going to put him at a low medium or a high easy. I'm going to put him at the low medium. I think he's just too old to be fighting at this weight class. I don't think he has power for this weight class like he used to. I think his wrestling is meh, and I don't even think he has the drive to become a champion in this division at this point in his career. He was talking about retiring against Merab Dvalishvili, lost, and was happy that the UFC didn't give him camera time because he was most definitely going to retire. I can't. That mentality, that's going to drop you down quite a bit. Song Yadong. Song Yadong has a very similar issue to a Rob Font. I would say this. Song Yadong's better than a Rob Font, and I do think it would be a fun fight. But he lost to Petr Yan. And Song Yadong doesn't have the best of grappling. He doesn't. I'm just going to say it. If somebody that's going to beat O'Malley, honestly, and I know he's already beat him, it would be like a Petr Yan is up there. Merab is up there. Somebody that is well-rounded enough to get past the distance and be able to tangle up and get him to the ground. That would be the type of person that I think would do very well against O'Malley, and we've seen that before against a fight with the Petr Yan. But Song Yadong, it's not a fight math situation where Song Yadong lost to Yan and O'Malley beat Yan, therefore O'Malley would beat Song Yadong. No. This is fight algebra. Song Yadong got taken down and held down by Petr Yan and was getting outstruck by Petr Yan, although it was a close fight. Sean O'Malley was getting up from Petr Yan's takedowns, and I'm going to have to put Song Yadong at easy. Not quite free defense. I think he would do better than Rob Font, but not in medium. Corey Sandhagen. I think Corey Sandhagen would actually be a very difficult fight. 1. Sean O'Malley needs to get good reads on his opponent to be able to get a good clip on him. Aljamain Sterling, although he's a great grappler, even though he didn't sew it in the O'Malley fight, couldn't get him down, is a good grappler. His striking, once he plants, you can get a read on Aljamain. The thing that makes Corey Sandhagen so difficult to strike against is he's constantly switching stances from southpaw to orthodox every time he's about to go in for a flurry. Now, I will say this. I can see a scenario where he becomes a little bit too easy. He telegraphs a little bit too much. He rarely makes this issue. But I've noticed in his fights, he'll switch stance and then immediately go into a blitzkrieg. He'll switch stance right before he goes in. And I understand what he's doing, because right before, when you're in that moment, when you're in striking range with your opponent and you're about to enter into that, you're trying to get a read on how I'm going to clip this guy. If he's switching stances, you've completely thrown off my calculation here. Like, critical moments you have thrown me off, and as you're coming in, if I don't know how I'm going to counter you, I'm just going to sell up, and Corey Sandhagen's going to win the round just because he's getting the better of you in these exchanges. Somebody like Petr Yan, who is also very unorthodox striking-wise, but is good, was able to beat Corey because he could play him in that game. Corey Sandhagen and Sean O'Malley hasn't had to fight somebody that is constantly changing angles, changing the way that he's striking in the middle or right before a blitzkrieg. So I'm going to have to say Corey Sandhagen's going to be at the top of tough, honestly. Just because I think that striking match, some people are going to call it boring, but I do believe it is going to be the biggest test for O'Malley. Of, is he the best striker in that division? And is he top 1 or top 2 best strikers in the UFC? That's why I want the Corey Sandhagen fight, when he's healthy. Next up, Petr Yan. Petr Yan clipped O'Malley. Like here's the thing that, like, I understand Tim Welch and O'Malley, like, shit on Petr Yan. And here's the thing. Rivals in the same division. It happens. It happened backstage of UFC 299. It is what it is. Petr Yan legitimately was clipping O'Malley. And honestly, after watching that fight, it does make me kind of worried for his striking exchanges that he could have with Petr Yan in a rematch. His exchanges with a Topuria, even in a Corey Sandhagen, is... I'm sure I've been playing the clips already, but Petr Yan really was stinging O'Malley. And he is well-rounded enough to give O'Malley some trouble. But I'm going to have to say... In a 5-round fight, though, I might actually have to put Petr Yan above Corey Sandhagen. Remember, listen, the UFC will never admit it, but the reason that Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan in Abu Dhabi, They insisted on making it a 3-round fight and didn't want to make it a fight night main event, didn't want to make it 5 rounds. We know the UFC can make a fight 5 rounds if they want to. They did the same thing for Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis, and that didn't need to be a 5-round fight. That wasn't even a number 1 contender match until Islam said he wanted the winner. So the UFC will make 5-round fights if they want to. The reason that they didn't do that for O'Malley versus Yan is they know Yan has a better chance at beating you, better chance at beating strikers, if you make it a 5-round fight, because his pacing is kind of atrocious. The reason that he was able to beat Yadong is one of the few times in his career he was able to win the 2nd round. In a 5-round fight, Petr Yan's pace is dangerous. Merab's just a little bit better at pacing. That's what happened in that fight. Cardio's wild. I think Petr Yan in a 5-round fight stands a very good chance against O'Malley, but O'Malley has improved drastically since that fight. It's been quite a bit since that's happened. And I'd be very interested to see that rematch. I want Petr Yan against Chito Vera, and that being a number 1 contenders match after O'Malley fights Merab. And speaking of Merab, let's talk about him. Now, I know the odds came out, and Merab came out as a 2-1 favorite to O'Malley. And I get it. Merab's hype, Merab's stock has been going out the wazoo, and it is deserved. The fact is you saw 48 takedowns against Petr Yan, and your cardio was able to hold up for the entirety of that fight. Your cardio against Henry Cejudo was constant the entire time, and I'm glad he's playing into him basically being an automobile. The dude is insane. However, he has tendencies. And the reason that I'm calling it a tendency and not just little mistakes he's making is if you make one mistake one time, you have one opening one time. That is just a one-off mistake. If you give the same opening multiple times in multiple fights, that is a bad tendency. That's muscle memory. And Merab got clipped by Henry Cejudo the very same way that he nearly got finished by Marlon Moraes. And that was pretty bad. Merab, I do feel like there's a scenario where Merab is able to survive the initial onslaught of O'Malley. But Merab has a better cardio. Merab might be able to not coast, but win enough rounds to win a championship fight against O'Malley. He's good for 5 rounds, good at cardio, good for that. But it's not that O'Malley has a comparable cardio to Merab, but Merab is going to have to use much more energy, much more, just wrestle far more, go in, blitzkrieg much more than O'Malley is going to have to do just staying at the outside. And I could see a scenario where although Merab has way better cardio than O'Malley, but because O'Malley admittedly doesn't have to do much to keep this at distance, he is able to sell out the rounds and just do enough to win. Not to mention, in the pocket, Merab's been rocked by a Henry Cejudo, by a Marlon Moraes. I can see the same scenario where O'Malley's able to do the exact same thing. I can see a scenario if we look at the Petr Yan fight. It got to the point that Merab was just throwing one punch and going for a single leg. I can see a scenario where Merab gets a little bit too cocky with it, and straight up the middle, Sean O'Malley hits him with the same knee that he hit Chito with. And Merab can get rocked, okay? Chito might have a better chin than Merab. I don't even think that's controversial to say anymore. I'm going to put Merab in our nightmare because he is the only dude that has the cardio that I could see that can beat. I believe he should be a favorite. I think 2-1 is a little bit crazy. But let's not get this twisted. O'Malley 100% has a chance to KO Merab Dvalishvili and make him into a highlight reel. That's why I want to see the fight, because I think that could happen and Merab could win. That's why that's interesting to me. And finally, let's cover Ilia Topuria. Now, what does Ilia Topuria have going for him? Obviously, the boxing. Striking within the pocket is very good. The way that he's able to force his opponent to plant on the cage, and once he gets you on the cage, that's what we saw with a Bryce Mitchell. That's what we saw with a Josh Emmett, how he was able to brutalize him. The finishing sequence against Alexander Volkanovski, that is what happened. Once he was able to make his reads, the jabs that Volkanovski was flicking out were hurting Topuria, and I do believe that's going to be a factor. But once Ilia was able to get his timing down, body, overhand right, drops Alexander Volkanovski. What is O'Malley going to bring into that fight? Ilia Topuria has a very hard time defending against kicks. Look at the Jai Herbert fight. Somebody who's built similar to O'Malley, but is admittedly less skilled in the striking department, was able to rock and nearly finish Ilia Topuria. That needs to be brought up. If you're going to bring up a potential fight between Ilia Topuria and Sean O'Malley, and you're not bringing up the fact that Ilia was nearly finished by Jai Herbert by a head kick, you're doing yourself a disservice, or you just didn't know about that fight. And admittedly, O'Malley's way harder to pin down, keep him in one area so you are able to go in with a body and then go with an overhand right than any other person that Ilia has ever fought. O'Malley's movement is better than a Josh Emmett, better than... The only person in that division that I believe has movement close to O'Malley would be a Max Holloway, and we don't know how Ilia's done against somebody like Max Holloway, somebody who has that arsenal of strikes, of using leg kicks, body kicks, teeps, head kicks, like O'Malley can do. We don't know how he's going to do. I do believe Ilia has the power to put down O'Malley if he makes too much mistakes in the jiu-jitsu, but he's not... Ilia's good at utilizing his jiu-jitsu when his opponent's already hurt, and maybe if he's able to sting... Maybe if he's able to sting O'Malley a few times middle of the fight, not going to be early because Ilia's not the best starter. Then I can see a scenario where when O'Malley's hurt, he can get a head and arm choke. I'm not going to bet on that. I'm going to put Ilia Topuria at the top of tough, and it comes down to this. Alexander Volkanovski was stinging Topuria with a jab for the entirety of the first round. Sean O'Malley has a way better reach than Sean O'Malley has a way better reach than Alexander Volkanovski. He is better at utilizing straight punches to keep somebody at a distance. And Ilia admittedly does go into a blitz if he feels like he can cut you off. Like, I can see a scenario where it's either going to be an Aljamain Sterling type of counter that he can rock Ilia with, or we see a Jai Herbert head kick when Ilia Topuria bows his head after a left hook. That's what I think could happen, but I am going to admittedly put Ilia Topuria at the top of tough where he belongs. Overall, I think I did pretty good on here. I didn't want to include too many because I wanted to do a bigger deep dive into every fighter that he could be fighting to give you guys a little bit more insight and a little bit more entertainment. Tell me what you think of this video in the comment section down below, and what fighter should I cover next, and just what things in combat sports do you want to see me talk about. Leave that in the comment section down below. And with that out of the way, I hope you enjoy watching, guys, and adios.